peculiar, peculiar. Poison, poison. Nerve, nerve. Obligation, obligation. Odd, odd. Numerous, numerous. Neglect, neglect. Orbit, orbit. Numerous, numerous. Peculiar, peculiar. Possession, possession. Neighbor, neighbor. Poison, poison. Nod, nod. Painful, painful. Peculiar, peculiar. Preference, preference. Practically, practically. Offend, offend. Prime, prime. Precious, precious. Pioneer, pioneer. Overwhelming, overwhelming. Practically, practically. Peculiar, peculiar. Poor, poor. Pile, pile. Plain, plain. Passion, passion. Practically, practically. Precise, precise. Precisely, precisely. Offend, offend. Passive, passive. Plain, plain. Originate, originate. Precisely, precisely. Practically, practically. Painful, painful.
Participant, participant.
Obligation, obligation. Nod, nod. Peculiar, peculiar. Owner, owner. Pioneer, pioneer. Orbit, orbit. Painful, painful. Prime, prime. Poor, poor.
Overlook, overlook.
Precious, precious. Nerve, nerve. Poison, poison. Obligation, obligation. Passion, passion. Plain, plain. Oh, oh. Poison, poison. Plain, plain. Permanent, permanent. Plain, plain. Primarily, primarily. Neglect, neglect. Output, output. Plain, plain. Patience, patience. Poor, poor. Patience, patience. Pray, pray. Portion, portion. Poison, poison. Odd, odd. Permanent, permanent. Perception, perception.
Participant, participant.
Nerve, nerve. Permanent, permanent. Pile, pile. Precisely, precisely. Precious, precious. Nerve, nerve. Precise, precise. Orbit, orbit. Portion, portion. Preference, preference. Patience, patience. Nod, nod. Numerous, numerous. Primarily, primarily. Output, output. Prime, prime. Originate, originate, peculiar, peculiar, prime, prime, passive, passive, painful, painful, obligation, obligation, perspective, perspective, odd, odd, overwhelming, overwhelming, odd, odd, patience, patience, output, output, poison, poison, perspective, perspective, passion, passion, offend, offend, numerous, numerous, peculiar, peculiar, passive, passive, numerous, numerous, passive, passive, perception, perception, passive, 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 passive,
overlook, overlook,
primarily, primarily, overwhelming, overwhelming,
participant, participant,
preference, preference, neglect, neglect, poison, poison,
participant, participant,
nerve, nerve, permanent, permanent, precise, precise, passion, passion, output, output, passion, passion, prejudice, prejudice, poison, poison, plain, plain, preference, preference, possession, possession, permanent, 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 precious, precious, neglect, neglect, patience, patience, portion, portion, passive, passive, poor, poor, pioneer, pioneer, pile, pile, precious, precious, perception, perception, pioneer, pioneer, neighbor, neighbor, pile, pile, prime, prime, precise, precise, passive, passive, nerve, nerve, prime, prime, odd, odd, precious, precious, orbit, orbit, prime, prime, preference, preference, poison, poison, prejudice, prejudice, perception, perception, numerous, numerous, perspective, perspective, poison, poison, originate, originate, owner, owner, practically, practically, poison, poison, prey, prey, patience, patience, output, output, pile, pile, possession, possession, plain, plain, perception, perception, possession, possession,
overlook, overlook,
numerous, numerous, oh, oh, precisely, 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 prey, prey, odd, odd.